started the official practice session, which then was already followed by the qualifying and then the 3 laps race. So today it seems like we're gonna have 11 drivers. 3 guys couldn't make it. So that's what we're gonna deal with. Christian, Robert, Anders, Jean-Pierre, Arturo, Gunnar, Noel, Benson, Vander, Mokan, and Enemigo on the grid. And well, a friend here will have to carry him along today as his teammate is out today, and there is a driver is sitting here and commentating on the race instead of driving, which means that he'll have to carry the Renault Legacy on his own today. So hopefully everything's going to be fine, and we'll have a race today at the end. Just like last time, been a fairly exciting Chinese Grand Prix with lots of battles, lots of overtakes throughout the entire race. Anderson's massive double overtake on lap 18, where he beat both Christian and Javier by incredible double overtake, which also handed him a podium spot. And we'll see if he's going to be able to pull it off today again. It's something that even he doesn't expect. And the current standings, Bande is currently the championship leader with 43 points, followed by Jean Durand, who's not here today, in the second Renault with 40 points. Gudu is third with 31 points. Christian fourth with 28 points. Kogan sixth with 25. Lucas also on 25 points. Anderson on 23. Gunnar on 20. Robert also 20. Lenza 18. Arturo 15. Enemigo 15. Other Robbie on 14. Jean-Pierre 12. Born on 10. Dario on 8. Nobody else has any points in the season so far. So a bunch of people seems to have gone off to put on a new set of tires as they found the loophole, and now everyone is using the Pirelli tires, which should not be allowed for next race, as it's significantly faster than these Bridgestones that we were initially using. Part of the mod, so I have to get rid of them. Noel is here. Also, a change that happened just a day before this race was not Robert but Kokan changing teams, and now he is with Zauber, and Robbie is here as well. The other Robbie, not Robertson. This guy in the Red Bull. He finally made it, managed to fix his technical difficulties, and Bande is already topping the list, which kind of shows why he's the actual championship leader. Crazy fast, already 3/10 ahead of Christian and Robertson. Gokhan is also in the 116s, and slower times start from there, as Anderson is already almost more than a second down. So we'll see how this race is going to pan out, and we'll... Alrighty, thanks for the info, Rokas. So, alright, so since you're already here watching, Rokas, can you please tell me that you can hear me better now? So, when it comes to that, just let me know if it got any better. And also lower the other bits of noise. So we can now, maybe I should speak a wee bit louder, which I'm going to try, so that's what we're gonna do. Thanks for letting me know. Hopefully this sorts it out, and audio wise will be fine for the rest of this race. Yes, my friend, I said 33 laps, and Gokhan is back, and he changed back to Bridgestones for whatever reason, and hopefully Baguette is not scared off by the 33 laps. Alright, I might relay that bit of information to him, Rokas. Thank you very much. So hope I've been of some help to you, my friend. So Christian is, well, I've no idea what he's doing. He made it all the way down to 115s, which is a crazy good time. Absolutely unbelievable. So Anderson managed to improve. No, he did not. That's still the same lap time he had before. Oh, it's because Robertson is not here. So now everyone is back. almost everyone. No, that should be everyone. I can't follow anymore. And we've got just about 6 minutes left of the practice session before we move on to quali. So we can have a quick look at Christian, current pole sitter. We'll see if he'll be able to pull that off during the race as well. He definitely has the pace, so if he gets the consistency together, then he should be fine. He could have had an easy win in Bahrain. However, that didn't really work out due to a pit double stack. And ever since, he hasn't been very lucky. Like last race, after an early pit stop due to some damage his car got after a collision, he lost a lot of positions and he's never really been able to recover them, and then also lost whatever he managed to salvage to Baguette and Anderson after a pretty epic battle in the late race. And he finished his lap. He didn't improve. Hunor had absolutely amazing pace in Malaysia, has been in a commanding race lead until his engine got fried. Now a wee bit behind, but right now still space to improve. Pence in the pits with a 118 already. I don't think his teammate is going to make it today. I actually need to double check that. And highly possible that Lucas can't make it either today, so at least I've got no feedback from him, the winner of the previous race. It would be a shame if the person that could potentially cause a bit of a disruption to the guys on the top wouldn't be here, but it is what it is. People have lives and life goes on. Some interesting lap times around the back half of the grid with 2.5 minutes to go. Christian is just doing one lap after the other. Seems like he's trying to make up for all the practice he didn't do and throughout the week leading up to the session today. Robertson is out on track as well. See if he can pull off any improvement, and hopefully, that Renault was in an interesting condition, and there isn't much difference between the two, and now Anderson actually improved quite heavily and it brings him up to the 4th place. Hunor out on track again. Robbie on the way. And Amigo sitting in the pit. Arturo is out on track. And the Ferrari this time Noel and his McLaren. So and the session is almost over, at least as far as the free practice goes, and we'll be on for the qualifying very soon. 3, 2, 1, and that's practice over. Bande just finishing his lap. One of the Virgins is still out on track, and I think that's a Ferrari right in front of him. Yes, and I guess everyone else is back to the pits. So he's done. He's also done. And we're back with the qualifying after everyone shows up. That's a lot of emptiness right here. So and the qualifying session is now on, and we're on the way with Hunor. As he's about to start his flying lap. Entering the final sector. And his lap is starting now. Bence is still in the pits. Robbie doing some tire warming right there. Arturo. Noel going off into the gravel. Maybe we should invite him to a rally. Gökhan is out on track too, and Amigo still with the car loading, and Christian. And the Red Bull is probably getting some slipstream off of him, which could give him a big advantage. And Anderson here. Let's try to get back with Hunor, Jean Baguette. So we're back with Hunor, who's already on a flying lap, or oh no, he's not, because obviously he left the pit too early. And it seems like I might need to make up some rules to stop people from doing that. But for now, he's starting his flying lap right now. Meanwhile, Robbie is actually on a flying lap. And pretty much everyone else, that's an amigo, yes, still. Christian taking a bit of a hit and losing the back of the car on the curb. Let's see how much that influenced his lap quite a bit. 118. And Robbie on 119. Anderson getting a bit of a slipstream from the McLaren, and it's a 116.5. Very good laps, and yep, definitely puts him into the lead right now. Marciano, let's see if he can improve on his previous lap time. Yes, he can, and only 2/10 of Anderson. So there might be still something left in this lap that could potentially allow him to get back onto the pole. Still 1/10 up on himself, but already 6/10 down on Anderson, which means that there's not gonna be too much of an improvement in terms of pole position, but he still might be able to put the car to a decent second or third, well, third improvement, obviously. And we never know what happened, other than a wee bit of a problem, which is definitely on my end. Shit like this never happened before. Enemy goes still with the temp car. Very nice. Hunor. We'll see how he does. It seems like he's currently 4/10 down. Well, now a bit more than that. It's 1.2 seconds down on Anderson, who's still in the lead. Bence is out on track. He's still on an outlap. Enemigo's car still doesn't load, which looks absolutely funny. And that's one of the virgins. I think that's that's Anderson right there. And he's on another outlap. Baguette on P2 currently. Marciano on P3, and that's Hunor Enda, or maybe Gökhan. No, that's Hunor out in the gravel, wrecking the car. Robbie quite a bit down, P6. Bande has returned. That's Gökhan, currently on P8. However, he refuses to use the Pirellis, which means he will be a wee bit slower. However, he might have tires that actually last longer in the race. And that must be still an Amigo. Noel currently on P10, and he's on a bit of an improvement to himself. Ferrari is just rolling slowly on the straight. Benza finally on his hot lap. Bande is back. So Christian currently back to the pole. Let's see By how much? So currently has a 6th lead over Anderson, who's out on a lap himself. Robertson on P3 now, Baguette on P4, Marciano P5, Bence P6, Hunor P7, and currently sitting in the pit. Bence just finished the lap. Robbie on P8, Gokan on P9, Enemigo with his car loaded properly right now. Noel on P11, and Bande is finally out. Let's see if we can catch him. Here he comes, starting his flying lap just as Baguette is leaving the pit. Noel flying through the curb, and it seems like he's being a wee bit of a roadblock to... I can't see the helmet. I think that's Robertson. No, that's Anderson. Yeah, now I can see it. And yeah, that was to be expected, and also gets collected by Noel. Monsieur Baguette on his outlap, and Bande pulls a 116.8. That's P4 for him right now. And that's Robertson all the way down to P6. So there is all to drive for. And Bence is also on an outlap. Is anyone on an actual flying lap? Yes, Robbie is on a flying lap, and currently on P9, and it still seems like it remains there as well. Meanwhile, Gokan is improving. Not much, but it's honest work. Enemigo down on P11, and there is no improvement for now. However, still a lot to go for, and that's actually the qualifying session over. So that's as the current lineup for round 5 of the 2010 season. Christian in pole, Anderson P2, Baguette on P3, Bande on P4, Marciano P5, Robertson P6, Bence P7, Hunor P8, Robbie P9, Gokan 10, Enemigo 11, and Noel 12. So we might be in for an exciting race, at least looking at the times of the first 6 drivers. And then the following 3 might provide us with some interesting Right, so that's on the way for the 5 minutes warm up. And needing water is actually a very good idea. I should get some for myself. So we're having a look after. So that's Robbie already out. Right, so speaking of that water, time to go and get some just before the madness starts. So So Robertson is back. And again, we will have a wee bit of delay because we'll have to wait for one of our drivers to get back. Which it is what it is. Shit can happen. Arturo did his lap in the meantime. It seems like others have tried as well, but never actually finished. So oof. I'm assuming he's doing that on his race setup, which is pretty good, to be honest. I'd be glad to see some other times from the pole sitters and in general from the top 6 guys, at least from the rest of them. So we would have a wee bit of comparison to figure out what we're going to see throughout the race. Arturo only 2 seconds down, so... And he was in the midfield, so that's actually very good. Let's see how this goes side by side between these two. Very nice. But that Virgin is a wee bit faster. Right, I'm not making any Virgin jokes, despite the temptation from our friend Monsieur Baguette right there in the chat. Right, so we're having the Virgin bashing and the chat. Well, that's not really bashing. Robertson is back. So that's how we're going to proceed. Once Cress is back, as I will have to redo the grid anyways. After one of our friends had a bit of a game crash. Apologies. So hopefully that's not going to take much longer. At least the guys are getting a few minutes of extra practice. Anderson is already using it. Marciano and Bande as well. There's no such thing as too much preparation for a race, so it's very nice, very thoughtful of them to actually prepare. think he means close. But what do I know? Band is back in the pits, so I guess that's everyone back in the pits. And now we wait. So Banda has also time to join. Marciano is still out on track, relentlessly practicing. Baguette is out as well. Extra race preparation. Hopefully everyone practiced turn 1 enough. Anderson is out. Yeah, nobody else actually. Oh well, Gunnar is out now. So a bunch of drivers making use of the extra bit of practice that they received while we're waiting for Chris to return. And now Robertson has crashed out. .124. Marciano no lap time. That's very interesting. Noel on a wee bit of practice. Anderson still out. And that must be definitely something with the mod. Yeah, well, I don't have an idea either why it keeps crashing to certain people and why it doesn't for others. So we're still waiting. It's a wee bit beyond the time we were asked to wait, but we're nice people here, even if that's not the impression you're getting out of the chat. Right, let's get this underway. And then I can start adjusting the grid. Not quali. So we're moving past that all the way up to warm up. That should give me enough time to adjust the guys who crashed out. And here we go. So I can definitely see the pattern here. I mean, he's got a point. So in the meantime, I'll have a wee look at the qualifying results. So Anderson should be second. Monsieur Baguette should be third. Bande fourth. Arturo fifth. Robertson sixth. Bence seventh. Hunor eighth. Robin ninth. Gokan and amigo Noel. So hopefully we move him up all the way to the top and quickly double check. So Chris, Anderson, Baguette, Bande, Arturo, Robertson, Bence, Hunor, Robbie, Gokan, Enemigo, and Noel.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
It's that time, right before we start the race, and I'll try to get a glimpse of Christian, as I'd like to use his view. Well, he's still in the garage, so also it's going to resync once exactly. So we are ready. And here we go. Christian is not having a good start. He's already surrounded by the two virgins. Well, that sounds bad. As we're going into turn one. And it seems like everyone managed to survive it. And that's Robertson already in the lead, fighting with his own teammate. Very nice. And he seems like he manages to keep the lead. Baguette unfortunately lost quite a bit on the start, and he was pretty close, and that's a battle between Enemigo and Christian. Christian must have had a terrible start from pole position, and he rear-ends Enemigo. It's something to look at. And Noel already in the wall and disqualified for whatever reason. And Robbie also out of the race. And that's Enemigo in the gravel. Don't think he'll be able to get out of there. Well, he was able to get out of there. Alright, well, I'm willing to restart.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
Right, so no more restarts after this. And Christian jumped the start, well done. Which ultimately might mean that he's not going to get a good race either, and the two virgins are already back in the lead, just like before. Enemigo making a bit of contact with Bence. That's one of the virgins going way too much off the track, losing a lot of positions. And he keeps going wide. There's not a lot of space there for him. And we'll be looking into whatever caused said restart. And that's Robertson back in the lead. Baguette on second. Marciano in third. Christian fourth. He still lost a bunch of positions. Bence is coming and Hunor is right behind him. We might see a bit of a battle between these two. And there's another battle forming right behind him between the Virgin and the Lotus. Hunor goes on the inside, takes the position. He's up to fifth. Bence down to sixth, and Amigo on, no, that's Bande actually, on seventh. Anderson on eighth, and Amigo ninth, Robbie 10th, and Noel 11th, and that must be Gokan on P12. Quite a bit behind, and for some reason, oh, he's lacking a front wing. Unsure what happened there. As Robbie is using superior straight line speed on the straight, well, not that superior. And Bande, an Amigo manages to hold on to this position, and that's Bence and the Vol, and out of the race, unfortunately. That's a shame. And there's still a battle between these two, the Red Bull and the Lotus. Anderson is already ahead of them. He's chasing down Bande. And it's a bit more tightly packed up here. And that's Baguette and Hunor fighting a big battle for the final podium place, and Christian is back to second. And Baguette is holding on to the position for now, as Christian is already off into the distance to try and chase down Robertson, who's already opened a gap of more than a second to him. And now Hunor, can he make it? Yes, he does. He's through. He's up to P3. And Baguette is already back on the next corner on the inside. He's definitely the more experienced driver from the two. So we'll see how this is going to unfold between them. And now he's third. And Marciano arrives as well, which means there will be a big three-way battle for the final stop of the podium. Bande is closing in. Well, he's been not sure what happened right there. Anderson is still seventh, having a bit of a trouble to close the gap to Bande. And Baguette is down to fifth. Must have missed what happened there. And Marciano and Hunor will be battling for third right now. And Baguette becomes part of the next three, the fifth, sixth, and seventh, with Bande and Anderson. Enemy goes steadily on P8, Robbie on P9. And Gokan after a forced pit stop. Robertson massively in the lead, 4 seconds already. Virgin is definitely driving for the win today, at least one of them. However, it's not everything lost for the other one either. He still has plenty of time to get back up to speed and catch the rest of the pack. Marciano is currently on second. Not sure what Christian had done, but he's down 2 positions and in P4. And it seems like there's gonna be a bit of a battle between Baguette, Bande, and Anderson, as they also seem to close a gap quite a bit to Christian, Hunor and Marciano, just ahead of them. Well, it's not that close on the straight. And Christian and Hunor are battling. Christian takes back P3. I wonder how long the engine's going to last. They're probably using pretty high engine modes to keep the speed, and Hunor re-ends Christian just a bit of a love tap, and Marciano could use this as a good chance to open a bit of a gap. He's already a second ahead of Christian, but that may not entirely be enough, so he could actually capitalize on this big battle between the two. And Robertson is just running his own race at the top of the pack. Enemigo not disturbed by anyone, and Anderson up to P5 somehow. We're missing a lot of action. Everything is happening at the same time. And Hunor is going for the move. Let's see if he'll be able to pull it off. No, he's not, but Christian goes wide and he's into a spin. As he loses a lot of positions, everyone goes by. And now it's a battle between Baguette and Bande on P5 and 4 respectively. 5 and 6, apologies. And Anderson right behind them on ahead of them on P4. I'm not able to talk today. Perhaps I shouldn't be doing that, but you'll have to survive this just like I do. If I suffer, you suffer. So we're still on the way with a bunch of battles. Let's see what's happening elsewhere on the grid. Anderson steadily on P4, and he might be able to give a bit of a slipstream to Baguette, and the two just might be able to catch up to Hunor and make it an even bigger battle for the last podium spot, with Bande joining in to the fray himself. Meanwhile, somebody is already in the pits. Yep, Robertson is out in the pits. That's only as much as these tires can take. Which means that Marciano is in the lead right now. And he currently has a comfortable lead of 4 seconds ahead of Anderson, who's being chased by Baguette and Bande as well. And after that, Robertson 8 seconds behind. Christian down to P6. After that spin, he lost a lot, and he's going to pit at the end of this lap, it seems. Enemigo, Hunor somewhere. Robbie on P9 coming up. Enemigo is just behind Christian, not much, and Christian slams it into the wall. This is probably gonna get some suspension damage out of that, and he's losing even more positions to Enemigo and Hunor. And Robbie is already right behind him. Let's see what's that gonna be. For now he can hold on, but definitely not having a good race. And now we're back. Unsure what happened to Marciano. The car looks undamaged, so we may never know, I guess. But that means that it's Anderson up in the lead, followed by Baguette and Bande. And these three are actually very close, so that's nice. Bit of a lag spike on my end. And then Amigo received the stop and go for something, which is unfortunate. Christian is coming out of the pits way behind this time. Even got overtaken by Gökhan. Andersson is opening the gap, and Baguette is going to pit alongside Bande, so both drivers on second and third positions are going to pit at the end of this lap. So there's quite an interesting turn of events. Let's see how this is going to go for them. Baguette is in the pits. Tire change done very fast. And that means that the two virgins, Robertson and Andersson, are on 1-2. Hunor on P3 with a bit of a gap, 5 seconds behind Andersson. Baguette still on P4. Bande, it seems like he had a slower pit stop. Maybe he had some damage that they tried to repair. That opened a bit of a gap. Noel on P6, probably the best position he's ever been, at least in this championship. Bande down to P6, 7, back to 6. Gökhan on P8, not too bad after losing a lot and a bunch of an unavoidable forced pit stop. We'll have a look at what happened to him, and I think Bande's connection failed and he's out of the race. Robertson and the lead as Andersson went out to the pits. Hunor second, Baguette back to third. Noel and Amigo after his stop and go still P6. Chris doesn't have a good race, it seems, almost loses the back of the car. He lost everything and more with spinning, almost throwing the car away. And now he's actually fighting Gökhan for P7. And mind you, Gökhan already had a forced pit stop early in the race. And it seems like the majority of the grid is relatively quiet now, as Hunor is in second, Robertson still topping the chart, and Baguette on P3, and quite some gaps are forming between the drivers, and Enemigo actually seems to be catching Noel. And Gökhan managed to overtake Christian. In fact, Robbie is about to catch him as well. So something's definitely not right with that car. That hit to the wall that we saw earlier might have been detrimental to the handling and the suspension of the car in general. Otherwise, I can't really explain why he's losing so many positions, as Enemigo and Noel come out of the pits after a pit stop they did together. Robertson already 6 seconds ahead of Hunor. And Baguette is also quite a bit behind. Anderson as well. So no fancy double overtakes this time. And we might be in for a battle between Gökhan and Chris for P5. Seems like he might have gotten a second wind that keeps carrying him. And actually it's a very nice recovery from Gökhan after the last place shenanigans early into the race. Robbie on P7. And that's Chris end of all again, and without a front. And that's... what was that? Oh my. That was horribly dangerous. And Chris took out 2 of the drivers. That was absolutely terrible and will probably be looked into and will receive the necessary consequences. Monsieur Baguette on P2. Hunor on P4, Gökhan with probably the best recovery he's ever done. P5, Robbie up to P6 now that... yeah, well, and that's everyone that's left after a very interesting rejoin attempt from Kress. So, that's 7 drivers left. And there is not much going on right now, as there is quite a bit of distance. Robertson already miles ahead and is going to pit at the end of this lap. However, Baguette and Anderson are, well, kinda close to each other, so there might be something between them. 3 seconds between them, and then another 3 seconds to Hunor, so there might be something for those remaining podium places between these 3 drivers. Alrighty, so I had a look at what was happening outside. So Robertson is coming out of the pits and being overtaken by his teammate. That places Jean Baguette up in the lead. And now Anderson is pretty close himself. And Hunor is closing the gap to as they are being chased down by Robertson, who is having a massive tire advantage above them right now. So he's definitely going to be faster than all three. Let's see how they are going to be able to defend the positions, or at least hold him up until the tires get worn enough so he can't get too far ahead again. But right now he's definitely having a net first place, as everyone else ahead of him has one pit stop less, and they will have to come out once more at least. And that's a nice move. Hunor is getting the advantage on the straight. And Anderson got back. Very nicely done. After losing the position on the straight, using the rest of it to take it back. Absolutely well done with this overtake. Not much to see here. And Baguette is going to pit at the end of this lap. Anderson, however, won't, which is the more interesting bit of information. It seems like he's on a completely different tactic, as he's going for the move, or at least he tried to have a look with Hunor right on his gearbox. Still looking on the inside, and with him not pitting, Baguette lets him go, which will make his pit entry easier. This way he's got no obstacle, which means that Anderson goes through and into the race lead right now. Hunor still second, but he's being chased down by Robertson, who makes the overtake before the first corner and now can go all the way to his teammate. And he's definitely, it seems like Anderson, well, I was about to say Anderson is going to let him go, but that actually didn't happen. Maybe now. No, still not. So there are certainly no team orders, at least looking at the way they're battling each other. Definitely no team orders at Virgin. And Robertson takes the lead. As I said, he's in a net first. He was in a net first place after his pit stop, and Hunor takes P2 after a very nice overtake on Anderson. But that battle is far from over, and Baguette just by himself. However, now he's going to have the tire advantage over everyone in front of him, as Robbie is coming out to the pits. Gökhan on P5. And Hunor is trying to chase the Virgin and the lead, but it's not to be. That Virgin currently has a massive tire advantage, which allows him to just keep opening the gap further and further. And Anderson is going to pit at the end of this lap. I can't see what tires these are, as they have no markings, but Hunor is either very good with the tires, or he's actually on hards and is on a longer stint. And Anderson spun. That might end up being detrimental for his result. And that also allowed Baguette to close the gap. Robbie let Baguette go, as he was under a blue flag. And it seems like Gunnar must have made a bit of a mistake there. At least that's what I'm suspecting from that cloud of dust, as Robertson opened a 2 seconds gap. And Anderson is in the pits, which means Baguette will take P3. And this also might not be a chance for Gökhan to take P4, as he's still quite far behind. Robertson's lead is already up to 3 seconds. It's about increasing by about a second each lap. However, Gunnar has still not been to the pits a second time, which most definitely suggests that he might be on hard tires and will switch to the softer compounds in a different stint. So, definitely not a lot going on here. It seems like we can forget about any battle between Gunnar and Robertson as well, because it's just not gonna happen, as both drivers are already far away from each other. Gunnar is going to pit at the end of this lap. Already got overtaken by Baguette, and will definitely be overtaken by Anderson as well. Or maybe not. I mean, he had a back spin that cost him quite a bit of time, and now Baguette is up to P2. Probably the easiest overtake he's ever done. And at this point, I'm not entirely sure that Anderson will be able to take back the position. Well, that remains to be seen. This could be interesting. So he's in the pits. Here comes Anderson on the final corner, and he's already released, which means he's not going to make it in time. But he manages to close the gap somewhat. So that's Gunnar definitely up to P3, or well, remains in P3. And now we could say that Baguette is safe as well, and Robertson all the way up 40 seconds ahead in the distance and in the lead. And Anderson is definitely catching Gunnar, so there might be still something going on for that third place. And Robertson is coming out to the pits again. That's going to be his third pit stop. and I'm not sure at this point what he's playing at. I mean, he's definitely using soft tires, which explains why, but if he's using softs, then he might need to pit once again, and that could be a danger to his race lead. So we'll see what becomes of it. He either puts on the hards, and that should allow him to finish the race with 11 laps to go, or he puts up softs and he will have to come out once more, and that might not be the best solution to the problem. And that also means that Baguette takes the lead. Robertson comes back for an easy second place. Hunor is still third. And it seems that the difference between him and Anderson is not getting much lower either. In fact, as we already saw, he can be faster on the straight, and that was very kind of Robbie to let both of them go as he was on his way out of the pits. And he's already a lap down. Gokhan steadily on P5. What a recovery. Purely driving on survival. Anderson now here in Sector 2, this is the place where he can bring back some of the time lost to Hunor. However, this time Hunor doesn't only have the position advantage but also a tire advantage with the later pit stop. Unfortunately, I can't see who's using what tires as these have no markings. So that remains to be seen, and Baguette and Robertson are at each other's neck, and Baguette will make a pit stop at the end of this lap. Which again means that Robertson will receive the lead back. However, I highly doubt that he's going to be able to make it on the current set of tires. And I'm almost sure that he will have to make another pit stop, which would ultimately yield the net lead back to Baguette, as everyone else is quite far behind. Robertson going for the overtake. Easy does it. Takes back the lead as Baguette heads off to the pits. Hunor is coming up in the final sector. Let's see how this is going to unfold, whether he can take... Oh, he overshot the pit, and that means Hunor takes second place. However, he will definitely have to make another pit stop. So Baguette is out of the pits. Anderson is coming up. So based on my probably not very accurate calculations, I think everyone will have to pit at least once more except for Baguette. He currently, I mean, if he chose his tires wisely, he could potentially make it to the end on the current set, which would potentially yield the lead back to him, or at least it would be very tight between him and Robertson. And Anderson is not too far off as either. I told you I can't talk today, so it is what it is. Steady second place, probably Hunor's best result so far. Hopefully this time he doesn't fry the engine. That would be very nice. Baguette is only 5 seconds off of Hunor right now. Well, almost 6, 5.5. I wonder if he can close that gap. Well, he's certainly closing the gap. Right now, he can actually use his tire advantage. And Anderson is coming to the pits, just as I said. He's going to be the first to pit of the top 4, and that's gonna be his last pit stop, as he should be more than able to finish the race on the set of tires that he receives now. And this potentially still gives him a shot at third place, as Baguette is definitely chasing Hunor. It seems like he closes the gap by about a second per lap. Again, he's at a massive tire advantage, and it's unlikely that he will need to do another pit stop. Robertson still in the lead, only by 15 seconds ahead of Hunor, and I'm pretty sure he will have to pit once more. You could see Anderson just at the back on the other side of the track. It's actually very nice. And Hunor is definitely losing a lot of time to Baguette. He must have a massive tire advantage, like that's just unreal, unless Hunor forgot how to drive fast, which clearly shouldn't be the case if he made it this far. But for now it seems like it's gonna be double points for Sauber, which is going to come in handy after the mishaps of the previous couple races. And Baguette is actually up to P2. He overtook Hunor, it looks like, without much of a fight as well. It's already more than a second ahead. That tire advantage right now is massive. Already only 17 seconds down, and somebody is in the pits. That's Robbie. Yep, that was Robbie in the pits. Anderson still on P4. Nobody disturbs him. Hunor in the pits, as I foretold. He has to pit once more However, Anderson is just not close enough, so he needs to sort this out on pure pace alone. Still 5 seconds behind. And the gap between Robertson and Baguette is shrinking as well. It's down to 16.5 seconds. And Robertson, again, just as I foretold, is coming out for another pit stop that, in my opinion, might end up becoming the undoing of his race win. So let's see if Baguette will be able to make it just in time or not. This is gonna be very interesting. He's just stopped. Baguette coming through. He goes through. And now Robertson down to P2, but it's very close between the Virgin and the Renault driver for these final 3 laps that are remaining. So we might be in for a bit of excitement, as Anderson is also getting close to Hunor. It's already within 2 seconds to him, so he might be able to pull this off on pace alone. Hunor actually might be in fuel conservation mode, which would explain the sudden drop in pace. However, who is not in fuel conservation mode is Robertson. Most definitely is already within half a second, just a couple tenths away from Baguette, and is going for the move on the inside. Not enough space to pull it off, but he will have an advantage on the straight. Let's see if he can make it through. Yes, he does. Already side by side, and he gets the overtake done before the first corner. And he's back up in the lead. He is definitely not in fuel conservation mode. And Anderson is already within a second to the Zauber. And he's still got 2 laps to go. Well, technically 3. But I'm pretty sure he's going to make the overtake at some point. He clearly has a pace advantage over him. And Robertson already opened a more than 2 seconds gap. So he's in for the race win. Don't think Baguette... Oh, Baguette does a final pit stop. And that... I don't think that will cost him a lot, other than a bit of time. But he clearly has more than enough gap over Anderson and Hunor to come back to second place. He definitely did, and Anderson is now only 2 seconds behind, but now he doesn't have a tire advantage, so it's highly possible that what you're seeing right now as the final results of the race. Now we'll see what these two are going to do to each other. Whether Anderson can catch up to Baguette on pure pace alone. It's highly unlikely as of right now, as Baguette is clearly opening the gap. And that's the final lap of the race, as Robertson is having a massive gap to everyone else. Baguette and Anderson, they probably are not going to battle for... Oh, Anderson is in the wall! Not sure what happened right there, but that was big, and he's stuck in the gravel. It's going to take a while to turn the car around, and he'll probably just try and finish without a front wing. He just needs to keep it safe. That was big. Might have been a brake failure. And that means Robertson wins the race. Baguette is coming through into the final corner, out of it. P2, very well done. Hunor completes the podium. P3. Right now, let's see if Anderson can make it. Anderson or Gökhan. Anderson or Gökhan. Who's going to make it? Gökhan. What a recovery. From last place back to fourth on pure survival alone. Absolutely well done, my friend. Absolutely great driving. And Anderson will wrestle it through. Yes, he does. In a P5. And Robbie made it to P6. So, well, I wouldn't call it optimal, especially after that massive accident and the restart, which obviously everything will be looked at. So that was round 5 of the 2010 season. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.